Okay, I'm ready. Go, go, go.
Oh, that's for the sleeves.
Oh, impressive. Joe's got really nice grass too. I killed only half of it.
See my new light I got out here for you? Dang, did you see what you did in my concrete?
No, I didn't.
What'd you use? Were you using a cutoff wheel?
A grinder.
No,
yes,
that
he was
wasn't
using
me.
a cutoff wheel. He was cutting plates for the notched frame.
The what?
Notched frame.
I'm sorry, I can't hear. I don't speak that language.
Notched race car frame.
I only see streetcars in here.
I wake up, flex on down that check. No drip is wet. Tell 'em run it on. No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck, but first I stretch. Tell 'em run it on.
Just a little thing. What's up, Joe?
Hi Dave, how are you?
Nice little soap you got
Look at this
going on.
fancy thing I set up.
That I
So
paid.
this is like a 2B notcher.
I bought this.
You bought half of this.
Joe's Christmas present.
Joe's Christmas present. So, tubing notcher, you set up the tube in here, and then it uses this in a hole saw and cuts this, right? I've been using a grinder, so normally I would mark it, and I'd go out there with a flapper disc on a grinder and do it. And I mean, it's worked. I've done it.
It's amazing.
It takes a little bit of time. It's hard on the wrist, so on and so forth. So we got this thing to do Dave's front end, right? And so I'm making those coping pieces.
Yeah.
And actually it's just making the first cut, playing around, thinking it all set up. But check this out. This is where the right tool for the job makes a big difference. And this tool isn't even that expensive. But check this out. So I did my first cut, right? Ooh. This is my first cut. Just went out there with a grinder, just clean the edges up, right?
Impressive. Fits like a...
Look at that fit.
Damn. You have to redo all your
That's
stuff.
ridiculous. Like, how good is that?
You have to redo all the work you've done now.
Dude, I'm gonna be able to lay some sick welds with it.
That's
Nice.
perfect.
No, isn't that crazy? Like, it's amazing what the right tool for the job will do for you.
That's pretty bad. You can just hook a little drill to it.
Yeah, you just hook a drill and go down. And so, like, I think the key is you got to keep it well lubed as you're going, so it keeps the hole saw. I talked to some people and they're like, no, you're gonna kill hole saws. Like,
really?
That's the only bad part about these types that don't use a mill to do it is you eat up hole saws. And you know, these hole saws, they're $15 each.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Like, you go through them quick. So, I mean, you know, you do what you can, you lube it up, try to keep the hole saw. I hear some people can, you know, do a 10-point cage with one hole saw.
That's not bad.
So that's not too bad. 15 bucks for a whole 10-point cage. So on a 25.3, you're probably gonna go through a handful of them, but still, like, it's not bad.
How the hell do you
I don't know how to
get
get
that
that out. Isn't that crazy?
That's insane. Like, that looks like a perfect machine cut.
It's like we had the right tool for it.
Yeah.
Ah, like that. Funny.
Life is
No, I'm really looking forward to. I'm gonna make all of these and see where we're at.
Pretty sweet.
No, it's
That's
pretty
a good purchase right there.
Oh, it is a good purchase. Thanks for my Christmas present, Dave.
You're welcome, man. That's what I'm here for. What do you need next?
You're so.
What do we need next?
I got tons of stuff. I'm gonna send you the list.
Email me the list, please.
Okay.
Invoice me.
That's going right to the junk folder.
Alright guys, so you saw us the other night. We started cutting up some chromoly to make the front end. So what's tricky about these S550s, and this is probably why no one has made a true, not bolt-on, but like a lot of companies sell the bars and everything you need to make the front end, to tube your front end. They've been really popular for like S197s and obviously all other Mustangs, but for the S550, the way that the cradle is set up, essentially your stock frame rails have a bar that goes through them like a sleeve, and the bolt goes through that sleeve, and then that bolt bolts up top, and then obviously the nut side is on the bottom side where the K-member is. I'll show you this all on the car if you've never seen what they look like, so it makes more sense. But essentially, we have to remake that sleeve, and I've only seen 2 people do it. One guy, he's built 2 S550, he's tubed 2 S550 front ends. The other people I've seen do it, they just switch to an S197 cradle and change all the front suspension over to an S197. I didn't want to do that because I thought it would take more time. But building these little sleeves is proving to be a damn problem. So essentially what we have to do is make these short little sleeves and then support them on the inside for a 1/2-inch bolt to go through it. So the problem is, and I'm going over to Joe's right now and he can kind of explain it, but I bought some washers, and our idea was to cut chromoly real short, put some washers on the top and the bottom side, and then run the bolt through it. But we're afraid these washers, the best I could find, because the center hole is only 1/2 inch, the outside of the diameter doesn't really match up very well with the chromoly tubing. The closest I found was some fender washers at Home Depot, and they sit on top, but they barely sit on top. They're not touching the whole entire outside diameter of the chromoly, because that would be ideal, because that would give it a little more strength. So I'm going to show these to Joe. I think we're going to tack one up and see how strong it is. But our fear is, if it's not completely on the outside diameter, that washer is just going to fall through that sleeve, and it's not going to be strong enough to support it. We did talk to, or Joe spoke with a guy that can machine some out of chromoly, but we are running out of freaking time. I'll give you guys an update on the motor probably in the next couple videos, because that's looking like it's actually going to come back here sooner rather than later. But we still have a lot of work to do on the front end. I knew these like sleeve parts were going to set us back. Joe and I both kind of knew that this part would set us back a little bit. This would take the longest to figure out, but we're gonna head over to Joe's. Hopefully we can figure something out. If not, we're gonna have to have the guy machine some little washers out of chromoly, but that could take up to like possibly a week, maybe 2 weeks. So as you know, I'm being blinded by the sun. Hopefully I don't crash. Oh my God, my windshield's tinted, I can't see shit. But anyways, see you guys at Streetcar Joe's house, see if we can figure out this dilemma. So here's what we've done so far. Plate there, cut that, plate there all welded in, and then this side's ready to go too. So that's where the tube front end is gonna mount. But here's the stock frame rails, and here is some bolts for the K-member. So I got like a little sleeve in there. So essentially we gotta replicate that sleeve to get it up off of here. And that's what we're trying to figure out. So we just realized the washer idea is definitely not gonna work. So we are going to move on to something else. I did switch the car to manual brakes. Look at that with the dash off. It is a freaking mess in there. But I switched to manual brakes. Aerospace makes a kit. So got a new master cylinder up there. It's got a super nice billet mount. Had to trim a little bit of the firewall. And I got the billet brake pedal in there now. So Aerospace billet brake pedal. So I'm gonna finish that up. It's pretty much done. I gotta get 2 more bolts on it, and then I've gotta start making brake lines, because it's gonna have all new brake lines to the front and back. So I gotta redo all those, which is a pain in the ass. But I did get the Motion Raceworks kit. So it comes with a proportioning valve, all the brake lines and fittings. But I just realized I didn't bring that over. So I have to bring that over one of these days. Other things we got, some carbon fiber from Tim McAmis. And that's all for the back end. Like I said, we haven't really done anything in the back yet, because the last thing we have to do back here is the anti-roll bar, and we can't do that until we got the engine and trans up front. So the weight, or the back end, is kind of at a standstill right now. Got more tabs right here to mount all the carbon, but back end's kind of at a standstill. Brought the front end over the other day so we can start mounting up the front end. Once we get the tubes, we got to figure out, or once we tube the front end, then we got to make some tabs to hold the headlights. We're going to replace this whole upper radiator support, obviously with chromoly. So I'm going to get working on finishing up the brake system, and then see what else we're going to do. sometimes I wonder if I actually do shit on this car or if I just cut it up. Because here I am cutting more shit. So if you guys don't know, we had the PCM relocated over here for the original turbo kit that we did, because we had to get it out of the way because it usually sits up here with the fuse panel. So now we're moving the fuse box back here. So I'm trimming off all this because we're gonna have all the harness kind of sitting right there, and we're gonna make a little bracket. Super nice for the PCM and the fuse box to sit there. Those are all the wires. I had to unloom most of the harnesses, not all of them yet, but I've unloomed a lot of them just so that we can easily move everything around, and then we'll reloom them. But anyways, we had a harness. One of the harness went through a hole over here, and the plug was on the other side, so we had to depin it. So you saw me depinning it, pulling it back through, and then repinning it. And so now that's back together over there. So I'm pretty much just gonna cut all this off, trim it up, and make it so it's an easy transition for the wires to come up for the fuse box, and then we'll try and get all that mounted. Essentially, we're trying to knock out all the wiring, and I'm gonna get to the brake lines later this week, trying to knock out the smaller stuff so that when the motor's here, we can focus on getting the motor in, finishing the front end, start working on the turbo kit. So anyways, I'm gonna keep cutting this off, and then we'll start to clean it up. Alright guys, so just trying to make as many videos as I can to keep you guys updated, but as you saw, we pretty much left off trying to cut some metal out so I can relocate the fuse box, and everything seems to reach good there, but once again we need the motor because I don't want to move the whole entire harness there and then some of the sensors not reach. So as long as when we get the motor in, some of the sensors, you know, if there's like 3 or 4 sensors and like the headlight harness doesn't reach, we can definitely extend those. Won't be too big of a deal, but if we have to move a ton of stuff, probably gonna have to find a different spot for the fuse box to go. But I think we'll be okay. But once again, we're set back because we're just waiting on the motor. But I do have some good news on the motor. Hopefully, it's not here yet when you see this video. Trust me, it's not here yet. I'd be really excited and I'd make a video. But I do have an update probably in the next video or 2 on where the motor is and when it should ship, but we are really running out of time. I believe there's only like 46 or 47 days until TX2K. Someone shared it on Instagram story, and I about had a heart attack because we are getting really close. So waiting on the motor. We can start fabbing up the front end now. Like I said, Joe started making those pieces. We actually found some washers that we had to order, so hopefully in the next video you guys will see us actually making that chromoly piece with a little coping on the top with the washers, and you guys can see how we end up doing that. You could end up just using a front end off an S197, but we didn't end up doing that. We wanted to do it this way, so you guys will see that in the next video, and then hopefully we're gonna start working on tacking up the actual front end. Same thing though, we can't do too much because we don't have the motor, so we don't wanna make a bunch of stuff without the motor in there and then realize it doesn't fit later on once the motor gets here. So we're waiting on the motor, but there is some work to be done. I'll show you guys some updates here in the next video, and then hopefully, like I said, we'll be tacking up the front end, at least get a start on it. That way when the motor comes, there's less work to do, but it is gonna be a scramble. There's a lot of stuff going on between now and TX2K. Joe has to make some changes on his car before our flashlight shootout on February 27th at XRP in Ferris, Texas, which is going to be an awesome race. It's 8th mile prepped flashlight start. It's a super fun time if you guys want to come out. I'll be there regardless because Kevin and I run that race, and no, my car will not be there, but Joe will be there racing Outlaw Street and Small Tire, and see if he can reclaim some of his titles because he always wins the flashlight shootout, but he didn't get to make our Dallas one last year. He actually helped us work it because that's when he had just bought the Fox body, and he was still working on it, trying to get it ready. So it's gonna be a good time, but you know, Joe's gotta use his garage to work on his car. He's working on Aaron's car at the same time, which we're gonna do an update on that car soon as well. Joe's making some huge changes to that and trying to get my car done in between. So we're kind of running out of time. Hopefully the motor gets here within the next week, which will give us a better idea on if we can actually make TX2K. We're still trying to push for it, but it is getting really freaking close. So we're gonna do everything in our power. We're gonna use it, try and be as efficient as we can, and I'm trying to work on it as much as I can. I still have a full-time job, and so does Joe, so we can only do so much in a day. Plus, honestly, just waiting on parts is what's really setting us back a ton. So we're trying as best as we can. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the updates on the tank staying. We're gonna get there. I'll see you guys on the next one.